Hey, this is Jim at Broadfield, back to you again this week with another Broadfield dealer webinar. Today we're going to start with a new studio tour, which starts right here in our Broadfield warehouse. That's right, we built our newest studio right in the corner of our warehouse, and we're going to go over some of the considerations and challenges that we had in doing so. So come on in. We're going to go on air. And welcome to the Broadfield studio, right here in Mineola, New York, Long Island. So I'm excited to introduce you to the studio and to talk about some of the challenges and considerations that we went through and some of the equipment that we set up and that we will be setting up to show off the technology and products available right here at Broadfield Distributing. We know that a lot of you guys out there are building out stuff like this all the time or dealing with contractors who do that. So if you have any suggestions or advice or just challenges that you've run into along the way that you'd like to share with us, please reach out to me. I'm Jim at Broadfield.com, or share that information with your Broadfield salesperson, whether it's Rich, Dan, John, or Angel. So let's get started. When we walked into this brand new building in Mineola, New York, we started with this room in place and really nothing much of it. It was really just a shell. This wall right behind me was a cinder block wall to the exterior of the building with a giant glass tiled window. That window would not be conducive to the lights that we knew we wanted to set up, so we built a sheetrock construction out in front of that. To my left here, we had another cinder block wall. That's dividing this warehouse from the interior space and the office space inside. Wall number 3 in this area over here is a very thin sheetrock wall with a fire retardant door in place. And then to the other side of me, wall number 4 was just all sheetrock right out to the warehouse. And when I tell you that a 4-inch sheetrock steel frame to a warehouse with forklifts, scissor lifts, and trucks coming in and out of a loading dock 30 feet away created a lot of noise in this room, trust me, it created a lot of noise in this room. Above me was nothing more than just a very thin drop ceiling. That drop ceiling may have had acoustic tiles, but it was nothing to keep the noise out from the warehouse right outside of us. So we knew we had 3 challenges. Am I doing this camera here? Hey, see? Hey, I'm following the lights here. We knew we had 3 major challenges. First, we had to dampen the noise from the outside warehouse to prevent the interference from out there to come into this room here. Then we knew we were going to have to improve the acoustics within this room itself, and then finally utilize this space not only for our sets, but for the production equipment that's behind me here. We actually wanted to build out the space with a virtual set, which is why you see the green screen behind me, a live set here in the corner where we're going to mount some shelves and make it all nice and functional and pretty and all that good stuff. And then a product spotlight or a product feature set where we just set up a table and actually show off products on a little spinning turntable that we've got, as well as the production space itself. So in soundproofing the room from the warehouse, this was our biggest challenge and where we placed our largest initial investment. We replaced the drop ceiling with a framed 4x6 wood construction using quiet rock sheetrock and rock salt insulation, keeping as much of the noise from the outside warehouse in the warehouse itself. We took those acoustic tiles and we put them on top of the sheetrock wall here and brought out an additional 2 inches in a steel frame to add a quiet rock sheetrock layer in front of that. Not only did that create the space from the existing wall construction, but it gave us 2 layers of sound dampening with the acoustic ceiling tiles covered by the quiet rock sheetrock. In this wall behind me, we built an entirely new sheetrock wall packed with that rock salt insulation in front of that cinder block wall, and again with the quiet rock 530 sheetrock all around us. So in searching these materials, the first thing that we looked at was the insulation with the rock salt safe and sound insulation. The safe and sound insulation has a special mineral construction that allows it to block a lot of the noise from the outside space. On top of that, we used Quiet Rock 530. On this sheetrock wall here that borders with the warehouse, that Quiet Rock 530 with the steel frame construction has an STC rating of somewhere between 50 and 55. In the ceiling with the wood frame construction, the larger overhead space and the rock salt insulation behind it, we were able to achieve a much higher STC rating, closer to the neighborhood of about 70. So that's blocking a lot of the noise from the outside warehousing coming in. So now, even when they're putting product away with the forklifts and scissor lifts and FedEx and UPS and all the trucking companies pull out to a loading dock, it doesn't create an issue on my microphone in the studio here. And then finally, we covered the door on the back wall where we knew it wasn't a soundproof door and we weren't ready to make the investment in a soundproof door. We were able to find a soundproofed fabric curtain made by a company called Moondream that allowed us to reduce the sound up to 7 decibels. So not only did we put the curtain on that back wall here, but we added the curtains to the side wall here as well, creating some acoustic barriers in the room as well. That brings me to challenge number 2. So now, once the room was set up and we were able to reduce as much noise as possible from the outside warehouse, our second challenge was to make the audio in here sound good. Obviously, in a cavernous room, the second I put a mic on and I started to speak, especially with my low voice, the bass started bouncing all over the place. So the first thing we did was covered the concrete floor with a heavy-duty padding and carpeting. And we were a little concerned about the carpeting at first because we didn't want the equipment to come into static electricity and to worry about the shocks by having the carpeting on the floor. So we chose a heavy-duty Berber that doesn't create a lot of that static electricity, but also has a high-quality pad underneath it, and we were able to improve our acoustics tremendously. We also added these curtains on the side because we realized that this room has 2 different heights in the ceiling. When I speak toward the camera in this direction, the audio sounded great with very little change by adding a couple fabric panels throughout the room. But the second I turned and spoke in this direction, the audio became a lot different, and it sounded like I was stuck inside of an alley. So we added some foam batting across the ceiling and down a steel beam that we had no choice but had to keep. And we added some curtains along the back wall here to make that audio and those acoustics a lot better. The acoustic foam was just some inexpensive tile and stuff that looks like inexpensive crown molding that really captures the acoustics and the audio in the noise dampening and bass trapping throughout the room. And now finally, our third challenge was maximizing the use of the space. As you can see in this green wall behind me, this wall was painted with a special chroma key green paint color to allow us to create our virtual sets right here. We have our corner space open here to create our live set. So I'm going to look at this camera right over here. And now if we take this furniture, we can put up props up on the bookshelf, we can mount other shelves here, and we have a beautiful live set going on right over here. And then in other areas of the room, whether it's in the corner opposite me here or the corner in front of the curtains here, we can set up different tables and products to create a product spotlight as we go out through there. And now finally, our studio gear. Obviously, the goal for the Broadfield studio is to show off the products that we sell. This includes the new Tech TriCaster TC1, the Wirecast gear, the Epiphan Pearl, which we will all have rack mounted in our production space right in the corner over here. We will have both SDI and NDI capability throughout the entire studio. In order to achieve that, we brought in 4 direct high-speed network connections into the room itself, and then we have an additional 16-port network router that we can plug into one of those connections to get additional networked cameras in here as well. Right now, our main camera is a Sony 4K SDI and HDMI camera plugged in by SDI directly into either the TriCaster TC1 or the Wirecast gear. The camera to the left of me here is NewTek's brand new PTZ1 NDI-HX camera. The camera that we have up on the table, looking back at my production crew over here, is the PTZ Optics SDI Gen 2 camera. And then we also have some other PTZ Optics cameras across the room as well. For the equipment, right now we have everything lit with ICANN lighting. ICANN lighting is all available from Broadfield Distributing. So call Rich, Dan, John, or Angel, and we can send you the entire ICANN price, excuse me, the entire ICANN price sheet and tell you more about the cameras we used, including this camera behind me that's washing our green screen, and then I have a 3-camera light kit pointing toward the talent as well. We are also using a Sumo production monitor. That is right now the confidence monitor that I'm looking at to see what camera is live. I haven't necessarily trained myself to actually look at that monitor all the time, so that's why you'll see me bouncing around to all the different cameras, but we're getting the hang of it, and I never claimed to be the most pretty person on camera anyway. In the production gear, we have the NewTek TriCaster TC1, which we are going to be getting all of our production crew completely trained and certified to use. Not only do we sell NewTek TriCaster products, but it is our goal to be experts on this stuff to help answer any questions that you may have and help facilitate any sale that you may be working on. We're also using the Wirecast gear systems. So if you have customers that are looking for the Wirecast software on a complete turnkey production system, the Wirecast gear would be the way to go. I've already pointed out the cameras throughout the room. We're committed to taking all of these cameras from using both SDI to NDI functionality all throughout the room. Right now, the room is a little bit sloppy because we have cables draped all over the place and cameras set up on tripods. But once we become more familiar with how we're using this space, our goal is to get all of these cameras mounted up on either the walls or ceilings and have everything connected wirelessly by NDI directly to the network itself. We'll also be using NewTek's NDI converters and the new Bird Dog NDI Studio, which, congratulations, is finally shipping. Okay, and we have those in stock at Broadfield as well. If you have any questions on anything we've done here in the studio, or need price sheets on any of these products, or have tips that you would like to share with us, please don't hesitate to call. Again, I'm Jim. My email is jim@broadfield.com, but you can also contact your salesperson, Rich, Dan, John, or Angel, at 800-634-5178. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next Thursday at 2 p.m. for another dealer webinar.